Yo, what's good, y'all? It's Descending here. This is going to be the second tutorial on my Alight Motion Beginner's Guide packet. This time we're going to be talking about, it's going to be continuing last time's tutorial where we learned how to get started with Alight Motion, how to get our clips set up, and now we're going to learn some basic transitions. We're also going to talk about color correction, also known as CC, and yeah, basically we're going to start with the most basic transition. It's going to be the move transition. It can be a slide to the left, right, up, down, even diagonally, anywhere you want. Just slide the clips to one direction to make a transition. So here we have the edit we made last tutorial. We just set up the clips with the beat. Didn't add any transitions, any effects, no, nothing. So we're going to make a transition for the first to second clip, and we're going to make the slide transition as I said. So you're going to click the first clip, go to move and transform, and you're automatically going to be in the move option. And you're going to put a keyframe a little bit after the middle, and then a keyframe right at the end. You can use the button right next to the play button as I showed you last time. You can use it to go to right to the end of the clip and put another keyframe. Now we want to do a slide to the left. At least that's what I'm going to do right now. So you're just going to move the clip to the left, make sure it's centered with that red line, move it to the left as much as you want. I'm going to stop it right there, and then you can see the clip moves to the left, but if you play it, that's pretty slow and not smooth at all. So what we're going to do is go over here where there's a graph, and this is a very important part of all of your transitions. No matter what transition you're doing, except for maybe shakes, you're going to want to have a good graph. So when you're doing a transition out at the end of a clip, your graph is going to look something like this. It's going to go start slow and end quick. And this is actually a pretty good graph. You can just put the two dots right around where I have it. If you want it to be a little quicker, you can do something like this, and it's going to be a quicker transition. But if you want to make it smoother, you should make something like this, and then you're going to have it go to the left. Now we're going to want to finish the transition on the second clip, and you're just going to put a keyframe at the beginning and a little bit before the middle. So we can't slide it to the left like we did last time, even though the transition is a slide to the left, because then if the clip starts in the left, it's going to slide right. So it's going to look something like this, and that's not what we want. So what we want to do is we want to slide the clip to the right. Slide it as much as you want. I'm going to stop it right there. And as you can see now, it's sliding left like the other clip was. Obviously this one's slow, but if we add the graph, do something similar to the other one but reversed, when you're doing it in transition at the beginning of a clip, you're going to want to have a graph that looks something like this. It's basically the opposite of what we did for the out transition. So you're just going to do a graph something like this, and then this is the result. As you can see, that's a slide to the left transition. I think this graph is a little too quick, so we want to make it something like this, and let's see how it turns out. That's a little bit better. So now we have our first transition, the slide transition. Next, I'm going to teach you scales. I'm going to go to move and transform, click the third icon here on the right. That's the scale, as I said last time on the last video. Your keyframes are usually going to go in the same places, right after the middle and at the end for the out, and at the beginning and right before the middle for in transitions. So the scale transitions can be either a pull out or it can be a pull in. For this one, I'm going to be doing a pull out. So you're going to want to go to this last keyframe on the first clip, and you're going to want to just zoom out. zoom out as much as you want. Try to make the tiles not look that weird like it does here. Like you can see a bunch of Orochimarus, that's not what you want. You can do it about here. It's not going to look that bad because the motion blur will blur it out a bit. So, and if you make the transition faster, the tiles won't be visible as much as they are right now. And usually being able to see tiles is not a good thing. As you know, if you try to apply for a unit, seeing tiles is something that they look down upon. So as we said, if it's a transition out, you're going to make the graph something like this. The same graph out. Want it to end a little bit faster, so something like this. And now we're going to do the in for the second clip a little bit before the middle. And then, as we said before, we can't pull out like it was with the slide. We couldn't slide left because it would be sliding right. So we want to start zoomed in so that it zooms out. So you want to zoom it in and then do your graph. So do your graph however you want, and then you have this. Let's look at the result. There you have a scale. That's a basic scale. A pull out. You can do the opposite for a scale, pull in, a scale in, but that's the pull out. Just do the same thing but opposite for pull ins. Next are rotations. These are a little bit harder because it includes two transformations, which is move and rotations. Because if you just do a rotation, it looks kind of weird. It's not that smooth. But for rotations, at least the ones I do, you want to put the keyframes on move, on the move icon, and then let's say you want to move the clip up and to the left, and then do your graph. You're probably going to want to do the same graph for your move and rotation. So you're going to copy the curve over here in these three little dots, copy the curve, then you're going to click the rotation, put the keyframes in the exact same place. You can also use these two arrows to move between keyframes. So you're going to move directly to the keyframe over here and then over there, have them in the exact same spot. And you can either move this way or this way. I'm going to move this way because I just think it looks better. And then paste the curve. And now it's going to look something like this. And now we want to do the opposite of that on the second clip to end the transition. So we went up and to the left, so you're going to go down and to the right, somewhere around there. Make the graph something like this, copy it, and then we're going to do the rotations, keyframes in the same spots. And since we did positive 45 for the last rotation, we're going to do negative 45. So paste the graph, and it's going to look something like this. Let's look at it. So that's a rotation. That's a basic rotation, the one I usually use, even though I don't use it too often. And yeah, I think that's pretty much most of the transitions I'm going to show for right now. I'm going to show you now how to do CC, which is color correction. It basically is kind of like a filter, you could say, for your edits. So what you want to do when you're starting to do CC, you want to go to add and add a shape. It can be any shape. Usually a rectangle is the easiest. You want to click the three buttons at the top and fill screen so that it fills the whole frame. And then you're going to go effects, add effect, and copy background. So now this rectangle is just going to be given filters to the background, at least what's behind it. So usually what I do in my CCs, it makes all the CCs look 100 times better, is this. Like every time I make a CC, I do this. I'm going to go to add effect, blur, and then add box blur. It's going to look kind of weird right now. Don't mind it. Go to add effect, color, invert. Again, it looks weird, but you're going to go back, blending and opacity, scroll down to contrast, and press overlay. Now, you can see the difference. It looks a little bit too bright sometimes, as it does right now, but it does make it look better. It does make it look better. It gives kind of a glow to the characters and objects, and it makes it, as I said, it just makes it look better. So what you're gonna do is press the layer of the rectangle and go to the end of your edit and press this button right here to extend it so it's on your whole edit. And yeah, that's the first layer of our CC we're gonna do right now. So then you're gonna want to add another rectangle, fill the screen, and then copy background. This time we're not gonna be doing an overlay. This time we're just gonna be tweaking the actual scene. So you're gonna usually sometimes you can do channel remap to tweak the colors a bit. So let's say this is very complicated, to be honest, to explain in a small amount of time. So I'm just gonna give you the basic changes you can make. So you can go to B and make the B a G, and this makes it something like this. Looks pretty decent. Wait, I changed it to R. Well, that's pretty good as well. But you can change it to G. It makes the greens a little bit bluer. And then you can change G to B, and it makes the greens a little bit redder. And yeah, so I'm just gonna do the B to the G, and it's gonna look something like this. And then, as I said, the CC looks a little bit too bright right now, so we're gonna want to go to color and light. You can use any of this to tweak your CC. I usually start with highlights and shadows and lower the shadows a bit, since the invert and box blur makes it a little bit bright. We're gonna want to tweak the shadows to make it a little bit darker, and the highlights I don't really use that much. Now you can go to brightness and contrast, lower the brightness a bit usually, and increase the contrast. Now you're gonna wanna, you can also do exposure and gamma. You can do a little bit more exposure and lower the offset to make it a little bit darker. And saturation and vibrance to make the colors pop out a little bit more, increase the saturation and the vibrance a little bit. So now this is your CC. So if we compare this to what we had before, it looks way better, obviously. So now we're going to do what we did with the other layer. We're going to extend it to the end, and that's just a basic CC. There's also other stuff you can do with CC, such as adding overlays, which is, for example, if you go here to images and videos, go to my favorites, and we can see right here we have this overlay that I use a lot in my edits. You're just gonna import it. Usually I don't do this brightness and contrast and stuff, because when I use this overlay and press the overlay option, it makes it a lot darker, as you can see. But since we already used the brightness and contrast, I'm just gonna go to lighten and screen, and I'm gonna make this a little bit less opacity. So now it has that overlay, and we can lower the brightness a little bit more. And there you go. There's the basic CC, basic transitions. And yeah, I hope this helped you, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.